Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
And welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right. I'm John Palacio.
And I'm Marlene Cuellar, and thank you for joining us this morning.
That's right. Thank you so very much. We're so glad that you're able to start your morning right with us, opening your eyes, doing that.
Wet Wednesday.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
what it is.
Here in the city, it is a wet Wednesday indeed, but nonetheless, we're in a beautiful country and we're looking good. We're feeling good. As per usual, Marlene, always with the first order of duty is to take a look at last night's newscast. And I could tell you, I think one of the biggest stories out of there, of course, is a COVID patient actually coming out of the, being released from the hospital after about 27 to 29 days. I think about 27 days.
23
but just before
days.
before we get there, the PM actually signing the MOU with the Nature Conservancy. That's, of course, one of the big things out of there as well. We have our brother and colleague, Dwayne Moody, who will be chit-chatting sometime this morning with, to tell us exactly how things are going in Glasgow.
That's right. So COP26 got started on November 1st, yesterday. Of course, they're very far ahead in time. So we got our update yesterday morning from Dwayne, and we saw last night as well, where the Prime Minister's comments that he made in that interview with the media yesterday morning, at least yesterday morning our time, definitely seems to have picked up quite a buzz. The Prime Minister was very passionate in speaking of how developed countries are not doing their part, how they need to be able to ensure that there's sufficient finance for countries like Belize that are being severely impacted by climate change. And as a matter of fact, in that interview that we aired yesterday, one of the reporters that was around then went on to further challenge Prime Minister Boris Johnson of the UK about Belize's comment. I mean, it was really interesting to hear how she phrased it as the anger coming from the Prime Minister of Belize, and even more so, I think encouraging to hear the acknowledgement by Prime Minister Johnson that, in fact, he understands why countries like Belize, and he also referenced Barbados, those who are very impacted, would feel that way.
Indeed. Strong reaction as well from the leader of Barbados, Mia Mottley. And and that's one of the things that actually, that's one of the clips that actually hit the media by storm because of her reaction to her speech there at, in Glasgow. And how she delivered it, her passion of delivery, the way she charted, and of course calling out countries, and it's big countries, and telling them that what, it's because of countries like you we are in the situation that we are, and you as a country need to do more in taking care of little countries, like especially for those who are actually right on the coastline. So these are the things that are actually taking the media by storm.
Yeah, and John, to put it into context, I think it is important that we understand the significance of that moment yesterday. You're talking about 100, a little less than 200 countries being represented there. Belize is a small country, and we are a part of groups that are represented. Groups like AOSIS, the Association of Small Island Developing States. You also have that we are part of CARICOM, of course. So we're represented in blocks. But when we're able to really get our voice out in the middle of such a big and powerful crowd, it is a pivotal moment because it then allows us to be able to have the type of recognition that is necessary. So people, if they didn't know about Belize before that interview, will then be asking, okay, what's happening in Belize? How are we being impacted? How much of the small amount that's actually come in from climate financing has actually trickled down to Belize. And those are questions that, with that type of exposure, can now come. And they'll be able, I'm sure, to be able to see some of the very evident situations that we've been speaking about. I know that Prime Minister Mia Mottley, who's on the screen, has also spoken about with things like flooding and hurricanes, which we know about already and we have challenges with, but also the erosion that we've seen, the changes in or weather pattern that has caused severe drought and impacted our agriculture, the effect on our reef, which the Prime Minister spoke about in his statement, which is directly linked to our tourism product.
Indeed.
Things like sargassum, that is now an added expense that hoteliers and beach destinations now have to be able to grapple with as well.
Indeed. Marlene, I've got to say, listening to you, bringing it out the way that you did, everything is linked, and that's exactly, that's exactly what Mia and of course our PM has been alluded to in terms of these things are actually linked. So as long as we're not taking care of our environment, especially with these big countries, then what happens is that it comes as an additional cost to one of the most, to one of the most obvious income-generating things within countries, which is of course tourism. So it's definitely a way to be heard there in Glasgow.
So, and speaking of being heard in Glasgow, we do, of course, have Duane Moody, who is in Glasgow. He's a part of the media delegation that's bringing stories directly from COP26 to the Belizean public. And Duane is going to be joining us to be able to share today's update. I think it's almost 2 p.m. there. So he is into his afternoon already. So Duane?
Hi, good morning. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Duane.
Good morning. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. It's actually just before 1 p.m.
Oh,
Okay.
Today, because time went back by an hour on Sunday. But so today, it's the meetings that have been happening are surrounding finance.
Okay.
And so we're going to be seeing where Minister of State in the Ministry of Finance, Chris Koye, and CEO Dr. Osmond Martinez, playing an active role in the meetings that are happening today. We know that the Attorney General, Magali Marin Young, she's also going to be in that meeting as well. I can tell you guys that earlier this morning, there was also a meeting of AOSIS, a coordination meeting of AOSIS, in which our very own UN Ambassador Carlos Fuller attended. It is really a great opportunity that we're seeing here, where Belize is well represented in at the COP26. And we're attending those meetings and making our voices heard. I know you guys were talking about that earlier, where the fact is that for the first time, we're seeing such a huge delegation from the country, and they're doing their best to make sure that they're at all these meetings to make sure that Belize has a say. We're trying to bring as much of it to you guys as possible, but there are several meetings that are happening today, guys.
Yes. So, Duane, yesterday we saw the conclusion of the World Leaders Summit. So it was only November 1st and 2nd that the world leaders would be coming together, making this statement and having meetings on the side as well. Explain to us what starts today, because the conference will continue through to the end of next week. So what happens now that the world leaders are departing with the delegation that's left behind?
Yeah, so who are left behind are really the experts, CEOs, ministers in climate change, those who work in environment, forestry. These are the reps from Belize and from the rest of the world that have been left behind. They will now meet to to basically chart the way forward as to what they want to see. And then the Minister of Climate Change, Orlando Habet, well, he arrives today. And then on Monday, it will lead to him being advised by these experts to make a final position that the ministers will then take to create that document, that agreement moving forward. So right now, starting today, and this is what is important, starting today and going on to November 12th, these persons will be meeting to discuss some small technicalities. Sometimes it's as simple as using the word shall over should and things like that. But it's just to make sure that at the end of COP26, agreements that are signed are generally what the world needs to fight against climate change.
Dwayne, in order for any of these things to be successful, there must be a buy-in by everyone that's there. On a lighter note, what's the camaraderie like between countries there?
You know, it's interesting, John, because even now, and the Prime Minister made mention of it yesterday, that even as it is expected that it's these smaller countries, these small island development states, that they are the ones that are feeling the brunt of climate change, which is a fact. It's also a fact that larger countries are also experiencing climate change now. He made reference to the US, where they're seeing fires and drought. That's climate change. And so I think one of the things that we get is that almost everywhere they're experiencing climate change, primarily in the region, in the Caribbean region, it's the same, land washing away and things like that. But then in other countries, their problems might be slightly different, different from our realities. But it's the fact that all of us are impacted by climate change. That is why they're here, yeah.
Now, it's also, I think, when we look at some of the commitments or some of the pledges that have been made since the World Leaders Summit has been concluded, they are critical in looking at setting parameters in terms of the numbers for reduction, whether it's methane emission or deforestation, and also looking at the timeline. What's the reaction that you get as to whether or not the delegates feel that what has been pledged so far is sufficient to be able to stop the impact of climate change that we've been seeing?
Well, over the course of yesterday, when we spoke to some of these experts, because the reality is that there are a lot of side meetings that are taking place. And one of the things that came out clearly was that it is not, the projections are that at this rate, we will surpass that 1.5 degrees Celsius that was agreed to in the Paris Agreement. It's projected that it will go as high as 2.7 by 2030. That is completely off from what was expected. And they're not even sure if interventions put in place now will stop it from happening. The facts are that already we're at 1.2 degrees, and that's so close to the 1.5 in the next 9 years, the next decade. It's likely that it's going to increase past the 1.5. And so while there are countries like Belize that are considered carbon sinks and not really contributing to the whole issue of climate change because their emissions, they're minuscule. The fact is that other countries, these bigger countries that are part of the G20, they haven't done anything to mitigate this. And so there is need for continued work. There is a call for them to recommit to what they had pledged back in 2015 with the Paris Agreement. And there are some countries and I can tell you, Belize back in August issued, as was requested, their new level for the NDCs. And Belize is saying, you know what, we're going to increase it to 5%.
Yeah.
And these other countries have not done so. And so it's disheartening. I think the Prime Minister said it right yesterday when he said, you know, it's frustrating because Belize is doing what it needs to do in terms of conservation, in terms of helping with the whole issue of climate change. But if the bigger countries are not doing the same, it's all for naught.
So let's bring it back to the things that we get proud about, right? So yesterday we saw the signing of the Blue Bond. That was a really significant moment for the country in terms of the sovereign debt that we have. But it was also really interesting to be done at an environmental conference of this magnitude. What was the reaction there?
You know, a sense of pride, knowing that Belize is one of two countries that have really done this. And it was so interesting. I'm talking from my own experience, just being there in that room when it was signed and hearing the PM speak about it and the reps from TNC and WWF. And you had these people, these other experts in the room applauding as this announcement was being made. It's not only helping a country economically, but it's also about the preservation of our natural resources, what makes Belize Belize. You know, I was super proud of that moment, and I think that you could have felt it from all the members from the delegation that were there, from the other reps from across the world that were there looking on. And man, it was amazing. It was amazing to know that this is happening.
So that was definitely, I know, one of the highlights yesterday. But also, when we spoke yesterday morning and you shared with us the interview you just wrapped up with the Prime Minister as he was leaving a side meeting, we were talking about, his comments that were made there. He was very passionate, fiery in his response about feeling that developed countries weren't doing enough. And subsequently, by the end of the day, those very same comments were used at a press conference or referenced at a press conference with Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Tell us a bit about that.
You know, I know a lot of people have always said that it's whether your voices are heard. And that is what Belize is trying to do, is to ensure that even though we're considered a small country, our voice is heard. And it's interesting because the Belize media managed to grab Prime Minister John Briceño just as he exited from a meeting with other leaders, and he was accommodating. He gave us about 3 minutes, and in that same vein, we were able to ask him about all of this, what message he wants to send, and he was clear. This is not, while we have to be diplomatic in the way how we address things because of the nature, we also have to hold these people accountable. And so said, so done at this press conference with PM Boris Johnson. It came up, a reporter used it, and we got a response. And I think it speaks volumes to the fact that Belize is being heard at this COP26.
Yes. And other observations that you're making, you keep on referencing other side events. I don't think, it was funny to see how people were talking about, a CNN anchor talking about being in Edinburgh instead of Glasgow while he's covering. But I don't think people understand the magnitude of the number of people who've descended on this city. Just for us to help to understand just what you are in the thick of. Explain to us, Mar and John, let me tell you,
an estimated 30,000 persons
Wow.
came in. And when I'm going to try to get some interviews on the whole issue of how Glasgow accommodated everybody. But the reality is that majority of the delegates here at COP26 could not stay within Glasgow itself. They have to stay a 45 minutes train ride away in Edinburgh, right? It's interesting though, because they make accommodations for you in terms of you have a travel pass that allows you to go to and from, to use all the public transportation for free. That is a good thing. But not only that, it's about getting people to this important conference without any hiccups. Now, we have been receiving some reports from different persons that while this is the largest that they've seen, it has also come with some complications, organizational complications.
Wow.
Right? Let's put it like that. But the spacing, when I tell you they have a map of the grounds and it's huge, to get from one meeting to the next, you're walking even a mile. But it's an experience nevertheless, because you want to grab these people, you want to get the interview with them, and it's interesting how the security that is in place to ensure that these meetings occur without a hitch. It's been an experience and a half, really.
All right,
Wow.
and this is only day 2 for you. How are you feeling with the jet lag?
Today was better. Woke up and could have get on the grind better. But I'm still adjusting to the time difference.
Yeah.
Normally at this time, I would be getting up out of bed to go to work, but I was up already, 8 hours?
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah, and so, but I'm getting used to it. But I must say, guys, I have to say that the meetings that will be held today and this evening, there will be a presentation from a presentation with the CEO. He will be
The CEO
presenting of the Ministry of Finance, Dr. Osman Martinez.
Okay.
He will be making a presentation, the launching of the 4th biennial assessment and overview of climate finance flows 2020. A report will be issued during this, and it's just to help developing countries in terms of implementing the convention and the Paris Agreement. The CEO will be there, Minister Christopher Koyi as well. They will be on the panel, and we try to bring that to you. That takes place at 3 p.m. Here in Glasgow. That's at 9 in Belize. So
All
we will
right.
try to bring that to you guys.
Well, we'll let you go so you have a chance to get started on that 1 mile walk. Dwayne, we appreciate you keeping us up to date. Very exciting things happening. This is being reported on across the world, and so we're happy to have you there representing us and providing the latest as to what's taking place. Continue to stay safe, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, guys.
All the best.
All
Dwayne.
right. Bye.
Bye.
And of course, there you heard it from Dwayne Moody, of
Yeah.
course, our colleague here at Channel 5, bringing to you live what's going on in Glasgow and how the meetings are, the expectations, and of course, the things that are coming up next over there.
Yeah. All right. So that is our COP26 update for this morning. We will continue reporting for right through to the end of next week when they wrap up the conference there in Glasgow, Scotland. Moving on to other things, I know we started talking, but we had to divert.
I know.
That we are still looking at a very critical situation with COVID-19 in the country. While the daily new cases are I don't want to say they're down, they're going down
They're going
slightly.
down slightly, yes.
Not as quickly as I think all of us want to see. It was a great moment yesterday to be able to see the KHMH post that update about a patient being moved from the COVID ward after 23 days on high flow oxygen. And, I think that it is that moment of hope that a lot of people need in the middle of this pandemic. About those who are surviving, even when they do reach severe complications.
Indeed. It was a story that hit social media by storm. And it also speaks to the great job that the staff there at KHMH, that they're doing.
Yeah.
They're very empathetical. And you could see that with the pictures that were taken.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's
Yeah.
what you call hard work being paid off. And the only way we could continue to have a downward spiral of this COVID-19 pandemic, Marlene, again, is with us being very vigilant of where we are, what we're doing, and how we're taking care of ourselves. But, besides that, a big kudos to the staff there at the KHMH.
Well, it's personal for me, I have to say that much. So, I mean, I look at those people and I know exactly how hard they work.
Yeah.
I think that it is absolutely critical that we recognize, one, that there still is a widespread number of cases across the country with COVID-19. We know that the vaccination rates, I believe as of yesterday, was a little bit less than 50% for fully vaccinated
Fully
persons.
vaccinated, wow.
And we're aiming for that 70%. We know that boosters have rolled out. We'll be having a conversation about that today to help people understand. And we know that there still are persons who are unvaccinated that are in the hospital, that get COVID-19, that develop severe symptoms, that are in the hospital fighting for their lives. And there are vaccinated persons who've also contracted COVID-19 and ended up in the hospital fighting for their lives. And unfortunately, some have succumbed as well.
Yeah.
There was a very tragic story yesterday of a child who lost her second parent to COVID-19. And, I say it all the time on the show. We talk about numbers, but these are persons. These are, somebody's son, daughter, mother, father, brother, sister, best friend, or even co-worker.
Yeah.
And so it is a torturous way to lose a loved one. And so I think that it is something we have to keep in mind.
They're loved by someone. So as you speak about it again, I'm here with the thought of picturing it out. But the numbers are clear, guys. 153 new confirmed cases yesterday, 227 recoveries. That does not mean that we're supposed to be lax. It means that we continue to be vigilant of what this COVID-19 is actually doing to us and across the world. We're not able to move the way we want. We're not able to see the loved ones that we would like to see, and we're actually losing them at a very rapid rate, 4 or 5 a day. Come on, that's it's tough to decipher. It's tough to bring to the mental.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got to get
Indeed.
moving
We've
into
got
our
to go.
show
We've
because
got to go.
we got quite a few conversations lined up for today. So let's get moving into some motivation to get us started. And our eye opener for this morning, taken from dailyom.com, goes like this. During the day, we can monitor our thoughts to see if we're investing our energy where it's useful. Our thoughts are powerful forces in the creation of our experience of life. You may be able to recall a time when frustration that was based on a misunderstanding completely evaporated when your understanding changed. This is because our interpretation defines our experience, and it can change in an instant. Our only true reality is the present moment. So rather than merely accepting that life is happening to us, we can harness the power of our thoughts to actively create a positive reality. For example, we can choose to appreciate beauty around us rather than focusing on traffic, or look for admirable qualities in the people we deal with rather than focusing on the negative. Each thought is like a stone dropped into a lake, sending ripples out into our world to affect all they touch. We can choose our focus and how we invest our energy, which gives us the power to design our lives to be whatever we choose in each and every moment.
Wow. This is one of those, and I'll go with the saying, bam, see, Marlene, this is clear, crystal clear as day, and we won't be able to dwell on it as much, but again, I'll go with this final line. We can choose to focus, or we can choose our focus and how we invest our energy, which gives us the power to design our lives to be whatever we choose in each and every moment. That should tell you exactly what you need to know for the day.
Right.
Look for the positive, man. It's right there. It is right there. I like the eye opener. I love it, actually. Love it.
You know what I always say? We look for the silver lining, and when we can't find that, we find a silver thread.
Yeah, and the glass is not half empty, it's half full. Basically,
Right.
that's what it's saying.
Well, if you put it outside right now, you're full up fast. So let's find out from Derek Verdun with the Met Service what we're expecting for today. Good morning,
Good
Derek.
morning, Dee. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Hey, let's jump on into it, my brother. We do hope that you're doing great, but the general situation, what is going on?
Okay, we can expect cloudy to overcast skies and rainy weather today.
All right, and in the 24-hour forecast?
All right, cloudy with some light rain, showers, along with a few thunderstorms, mainly over the coast and southern districts. Tonight, we're expecting cloudy skies again with a few showers or periods of light rain over coastal areas.
All right, let's jump on to the winds. Where should we get them from?
From the north and the northeast, that's 5 to 15 knots, and the sea state will be choppy.
That simply means that the weather will be cool. What are the highs and lows?
That's right, and we're expecting highs today of 84 along the coast, 88 inland, and only 74 degrees up in the hills. Lows tonight, 74 along the coast, 70 inland, and 63 up in the hills.
I'm seeing here advisors, watches, warnings, small craft caution.
Right, we have a caution for the possibility of gusty winds in the heavy showers or thunderstorms out at sea.
Wow. All right. And what should we expect in the extended forecast?
Okay, for tomorrow, we're expecting a decrease in showers. This weather should have passed somewhat, and we're expecting partly cloudy skies with a few showers and isolated thunderstorms possible.
And finally, are there anything in the tropics that we should be looking out for?
The only game in town, and not even in our town, is Wanda. It's in the Atlantic Ocean. It's bothering no one at this time, but in our area, there's no feature of interest.
All right, so only the Wanda far away.
That's correct.
Forecaster Verdun, we thank you so very much for that weather update.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right.
All right, bye-bye.
And there we go. Moving on. Now you know exactly what to expect with the weather, but it is that time of the morning whereby we move on to let you know exactly what we'll be chit-chatting about. And you were right, Marlene. This morning, indeed, we'll be chit-chatting about boosters. What is a COVID-19 vaccine booster shot and how does it work? Dr. Bear will be joining us this morning to share that with us.
That's right. And the second part of the show, we'll be joined by representatives of the DFC to talk about their products and services that they have available. We know Christmas is coming around. We know people are still recovering from the economic impact of COVID-19. And so we're going to find out from them directly just what they have to offer and how they can help.
All right, and then the final segment for this morning, the 15th edition of the virtual Belize International Film Festival is approaching, and we'll be having folks in to tell us all about, or giving us actually the details, how you can see it, what you can do to be a part of it. It's going to be a very festive one.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and take that break, but before we do, we got 2 birthday shout-outs
Two
this
or
morning.
3? I think it's about
3.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start off
With
the one turning 7 years old today. Happy birthday to Janelle Lino.
Hi, Janelle. Happy birthday to you. And then we move on now to the one turning 5 years old today, and that's none other than Caitlin Middleton.
She
was here with us last week. Oh my goodness. Caitlin, happy birthday to you. And also turning 5 is Kelsey Flores.
I don't think she's turning 5, John.
You don't think it'll turn 5?
No, But Kelsey Flores.
Kelsey on the 35 at all. That's not a
Happy
5.
birthday. You know, when they say you look young, that's a whole different level.
That's a whole different level.
Kelsey,
indeed.
enjoy your birthday today
Happy
from all of
birthday
us
to you
here
guys,
at Channel
man.
5 and Open Your Eyes. We're going to take that break now. When we come back, we are going to be focusing on booster shots. Who needs them, where you can get them, and what to expect. That's coming up in a few. Stay tuned.
We have been a partner with Smart for over 10 plus years. We have a full Smart plan we use as our major driver for our business. We have a service that rolls over in that if you call one and it is busy, it rolls over to the next line. So once you call us, you can get us at any time. Before we got this Smart service, we were paying upwards of nearly $2,000 in phone bills. Since we've had our Smart service, we pay an average about $600. So we've had tremendous saving, more than 50%. For the businesses, if you want to save money, switch to Smart because it is far more cost effective and the service is excellent.
Smart continues to be innovative in bringing new technology and meaningful savings during these challenging times to businesses across Belize. Sign up for our VoIP technology or broadband packages and save more.
Good morning, sweetie. It's time for school.
Are you a teacher or public sector employee who is thinking of owning your new home? Get the keys to your new home with Belize Bank's all-inclusive mortgage, the best financing option in Belize for your new home purchase or construction. Inclusive of all mortgage-related fees, no down payment, affordable terms, amazingly low interest rates. Visit our nearest branch to speak to one of our financial advisors to discuss how you can be one step closer to owning your new home. Some conditions apply.
How can we support the emotional well-being of older adults during COVID-19? During the COVID-19 pandemic, and particularly while in quarantine, individuals, including older adults, may become more anxious, angry, stressed, agitated, or withdrawn, especially those who need healthcare assistance or have cognitive decline or dementia. Here are 4 strategies that can help you in supporting an older adult during this difficult time. 1. Communicate information and listen. Present with accurate, simple, and accessible information and facts about the COVID-19 outbreak, its progression, treatment, and effective strategies to prevent infection. Listen patiently to their needs and concerns. For older people with mild cognitive impairment or early stages of dementia, inform them of what is happening within their capacity and provide support to ease their anxiety and stress. 2. Promote positive mental and emotional health. Provide access to available mental health and psychosocial support services, also known as MHPSS services, for older adults and communicate when and how they can access them. Help older people keep regular routines and schedules as much as possible. You can also help them create new ones, including regular exercising, cleaning, daily chores, singing, painting, or other activities. Facilitate regular communication between older adults and their friends and families. 3. Help with medical needs. Make sure that older adults have at least up to 1 month of all the regular medicines that they may require. Explain how to use protective devices in a clear, concise way. Always be respectful and patient. 4. Assist with daily activities. Provide older people with details related to how and where they can get practical help if needed, like calling a taxi, dropping off supplies, having groceries delivered, and requesting medical care, as well as information on any locally available social support programs and services. For more information, consult the webpage of the Pan American Health Organization, www.paho.org/coronavirus.
Life can be tough when a loved one suddenly departs. Dependents of the deceased are sometimes left alone to pick up the pieces and may be stranded financially. Fortunately, the Social Security Board provides survivors benefit to ease the burden. Survivor's benefit is paid to a widow or widower, children under 18 years, or up to 21 years if attending school, or dependent parents. A survivor's benefit can be either a grant or a pension. Want to know more about Survivor's benefit? Visit our website or contact any of our offices to have someone assist you. Also, be sure to visit our Facebook page and give us a like to stay informed. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
Welcome back to Open Your Eyes, and we're moving now into our first segment for the morning, and this one surrounds COVID-19 vaccine boosters, booster shots actually, and how it works. Now, in with us, we've got Dr. Natalia Larga Espada-Beer, who is the technical advisor for the maternal and health care from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Dr. Beer, good morning and welcome.
Yes, good morning, and thanks for this opportunity to share information with the audience. Good morning.
It's nice to have you in as per usual, but let's get right on into it. Boosters are actually here. This is something that we've been hearing for about a couple of months now throughout the world, well, especially more so in the U.S. The importance of these boosters, let's start there. How did it come on stream, and what's the importance of the boosters?
Okay, so this is not the first time that we talk about boosters.
Okay.
We have our regular immunization program, and for example, pentavalent vaccine that have protect against 5 different diseases.
Yeah.
We provide the vaccines to children at 2 months, 4 months, and 6 months, 3 doses. And then they get a booster dose at 4 to 5 years. And this is just to increase the immune response to these vaccine preventable diseases.
Yeah.
Likewise, for anti-polio vaccine, we administer first, second, and third, same at 2, 4, and 6 months. And then at 18 months, children get a booster for anti-polio. In regards to the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine, the first dose is given at 12 months. And then we had a booster dose that we were giving at 24 months. But considering the cases of measles in Guatemala and Mexico, which are neighboring countries, then we reduced that timing for that booster to 18 months. And we moved that based on data. And later on, after we have moved our local timing for MMR booster, then WHO recommended 18 months also. So we use data for making decisions. No? Yeah. So a booster is not new when we're speaking about vaccines. Seasonal influenza, considering that the virus, the most circulating virus, changes each year, then the composition of the vaccine for seasonal influenza changes every year.
Yeah. So let me just jump into what's happening here. So the way COVID-19 has changed and what we've seen with the Delta variant affecting fully vaccinated persons shows that there is a need for a booster, especially for persons who are high risk. The decision now to roll out boosters in Belize. Let's talk about who is going to qualify to be able to receive that booster and what vaccine they'll be getting.
Okay. So for Belize, we will be administering the booster dose for COVID-19 vaccine. We know that we have in-country vaccines that require 2 doses, and we have vaccines that are single dose, which is the Johnson. Both of them can receive booster doses, but we're starting in phases. So this first phase will cover healthcare workers persons 60 years and older, and persons with comorbidities. The vaccines that we are offering right now for this first phase for booster is AstraZeneca and the Pfizer. Our first preference is to recommend persons to receive the Pfizer vaccine as a booster dose. And then we have a few requests that persons requesting to be their third dose or booster dose would be AstraZeneca. So we are honoring those requests. The timing is they are recommending 6 months, but looking at our local data, we reduce that time to 5 months. So persons who receive a second dose of AstraZeneca vaccine 5 months or more, then they are eligible to go to their nearest vaccination site and get their booster dose with Pfizer vaccine.
Yes. Now let's, I mean, this is one of the things I think is interesting. The science now says that it is okay to mix vaccinations, because I know that makes people nervous. It's like, oh, you know, mix medication. They're scared to mix vaccines.
Yeah.
What does the science say?
It is, the data is showing that it is safe to mix, to combine these vaccines.
Okay.
To get a better immune response. So, but again, if a person feels comfortable that they got first dose AstraZeneca, second dose AstraZeneca, and they did not experience no symptoms post-vaccination, and they would like to receive a booster with AstraZeneca, we honor that.
Okay. And the side effects, we had to talk about side effects extensively at the first rollout of vaccinations. What are side effects associated with the booster shot?
When we're using the same formulation, you know, there is no change in the formulation of vaccine when we're speaking about booster dose. So one would expect the same side effects like with first or second dose. And what we recommend is that if you have symptoms after receiving a vaccine, this should not last more than 2 days. And of course, if you have a symptom that is not improving throughout the day, then these persons need to reach to their nearest hospital to get a checkup. It could be the vaccine, could not be the vaccine, but it's safer for them to move to the hospital and get a checkup. The side effects, the most common symptoms after receiving vaccine is the pain, swelling, or redness at the injection site. And then there are other symptoms like headache, body ache, that a person can present chills, fever.
Okay.
Yes.
There's also an ongoing campaign for people to get flu shots because we're heading into the flu season. What's the medical advice on flu shots and booster shots?
Yeah, all of these are recommended, booster shot and the flu shot. But we just have to be careful to have at least 14 days between each vaccine.
Okay. So if I would get a flu shot today, well, I'm not in the high risk category, over 60 or comorbidities, but if I were, I'd get a flu shot today and wait 2 weeks to get the booster.
Exactly, that's correct.
Okay. I have a question about comorbidities. One of the things that we've seen over the course of the pandemic is how persons who are obese are at high risk for severe COVID and also potentially facing death. It's not a classified comorbidity, but if somebody is overweight or obese, can they simply go in and get the booster shot and say that they feel high risk?
It is, in Belize, we consider obesity as a comorbidity. So, yes, a person that is obese, morbidly obese especially, they should be or feel free to access the vaccines, either first, second, or their booster dose if they already received 2 doses.
At any age. So even if they're in their 20s or 30s or 40s, they may be able to go in if they know they're obese.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay. And then looking at the existing rollout, are there special sites for booster shots, or do you go to the regular vaccination sites?
Yeah, there is no special settings for booster vaccines. It's just at the regular vaccination sites that people are familiar with now. Or at community level when the mobile vaccination team reaches. They just need to join the line for the first and second and booster all in one.
Okay.
And with respect to the mobile team, how often are they out and about in various municipalities?
Well, that's an excellent question because we have been visiting communities more than 2, 3, 4 times, and we all know where we are in regards to the coverage. So when we visit communities, depending on the level of coverage, then we will have to go back more than 2, 3 times to offer the services now closer to home. If you look at the numbers from yesterday, we have 183,324 second dose or first dose, single dose with the Johnson, and that put us up at 42.6%.
Wow.
Now, because of the variants that we know are circulating in Belize, we must focus on achieving not 70, but rather 85% or more of vaccination coverage against COVID-19. And we are 43 percentage point away. So
we have a long way to go.
We are just reaching the midpoint of the coverage that we need. So it's just a reminder, to the public that COVID-19 is transmitted from person to person. The strategy that we are using is testing, contact tracing, isolation and quarantine. And we continue to see persons that should be in isolation or in quarantine on the streets. And that is not helpful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And one of the frequent asked questions is this: if I recovered from COVID-19 today marks my recovery date. How long after can I go and get the vaccine? Can I go and get vaccinated? At least my first dose.
Okay, so we use evidence again to make decisions. Because there was a low production of vaccines at the beginning, then 6 months was the timeline between the recovery and getting vaccinated.
Okay.
Then we moved that to 3 months, and recently we issue a press release where we advise that persons after recovering from COVID-19, they can get their vaccine 2 weeks after, or 1 month after the date of the laboratory diagnosis.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're at 1 month after laboratory diagnosis. You can start your vaccination.
And so that's not when you recover. That's if I diagnose today. Or I test positive today, then a month from now I'd be able to get a booster.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Another frequently asked question, Dr. Abir, is that if I was given my AstraZeneca today, let's say I get my AstraZeneca today, all right? I should go in again. I should go in for my second shot 8 weeks afterwards. Is it 8 weeks?
Yes, I know at the beginning we did recommend 12 weeks, but we have to consider our local situation. We have a high positivity rate. So 9 weeks or more is okay for us to go and get our second dose.
All right, and then if I would miss my 9 weeks, I go in probably 14 weeks afterwards. Would the efficacy of the vaccine still be on par with those who went in on the allotted date?
Yeah, there is no need to restart the vaccination.
Okay.
As early as you can, after the 9 weeks is the best time to get your second dose.
Okay.
And if I've just taken my second dose, how long should I wait for a booster?
If you just taken your second dose for AstraZeneca, it's 5 months. For Johnson, they're also recommending a booster dose, and that one is recommended 2 months after receiving the Johnson vaccine.
So so for people who've gotten Johnson & Johnson and are in this first phase, that was about 2 months ago that you started rolling it out. So they should go in for a booster.
Yes, yes. If they are in these 3 groups that we are recommending at this point.
And for Pfizer?
For Pfizer, we must wait 5 months after second dose.
Okay. All right. And for any other vaccine besides the Johnson that we mentioned, AstraZeneca and Pfizer, I think we've got one more, if I'm not mistaken.
It's the Sinopharm.
All right. And how long after can you go for your booster with that one?
For that one is similar 5 months.
Okay. All right.
Now, if someone chooses not to get a booster shot, are they still considered fully vaccinated?
Yes, they are considered fully vaccinated, and I must remind the public, that the COVID-19 vaccines are working well. Not all persons require a booster dose.
Okay.
But it is known that adults of any age, with underlying medical condition, there is an increased risk of COVID-19 severe illness. And persons with serious immune compromised conditions also have increased risk of severe illness. And then you have the occupational risk, which is also, for example, healthcare workers. And why healthcare workers? Because they have a greater exposure to the virus, providing services to persons at the flu clinic that are infected and hospitalized patients.
Dr. Baer, you said something really important there, and I'd love if we could explore that just a bit deeper. When you look at the chart that the Ministry of Health puts out with the cumulative death, very often people just want to zoom in on the green images, even though it's more overwhelmingly red, which means more unvaccinated persons are losing their lives than vaccinated persons. But people still want to understand why vaccinated people are dying from COVID-19, why fully vaccinated people are dying from COVID-19. Can you talk a bit about that so we can understand why the booster is important?
Well, again, the persons that have immune compromised conditions, underlying medical conditions, chronic illness, uncontrolled chronic illness, their immune response is not the same as someone that do not have these conditions. So we need to look at the data with all the different variables associated to it now. Yeah. We spoke about obesity. Obesity play a key role in increasing severe illness, hospitalizations, and deaths. The age of the person. We have seen records of persons that died with 2 doses of vaccines, but they have 10 different diagnoses in their medical record. So it's a struggle, when one gets infected and you have all of these comorbidities lying up there, the risk for complications and even death reduce the effectiveness of the vaccine to protect them. So hence the reason that yes, we get vaccinated, but that is not clear for us to forget the preventive measures, like wearing face masks at all times, especially when in public places, physical distancing, hands sanitation, and avoiding crowds. So,
and when you
vaccine is part of the response, it's not the only response.
That's right.
To fight against COVID-19.
And let's switch it to the flip side. I think, when you talk about the need for a booster shot, where concerned people are aware that the effectiveness of the vaccine is reducing with time. How do you explain to people that, in fact, in Belize, our data is showing that vaccinations are working?
Well, I think the graphics are very self-explanatory. No? You have the larger number of persons painted there in red, which represents the unvaccinated population that is being infected, complicating, and dying from COVID-19. And that is not incomparable to the number of persons in similar situations with 1 dose or with 2 doses of vaccine. So, I mean, the evidence is there. We don't need to do any further study here in Belize to demonstrate the effectiveness. But again, all those other factors that we have as a person because of our lifestyle or whatever, then that play a key role too.
Yeah.
Now, when you talk about the vaccination rollout, you very rightly said we are about a little less than 50% of the targeted population for vaccinations, fully vaccinated. There's been a slowdown of the number of people coming to get vaccinated. How long do we have before we need to use these vaccines? Because they've been donated and they do come with an expiration date.
Yes, well, yeah, that's an excellent question, Marlene. The vaccines that we have currently in stock is in the amount of 267,000, and the earliest expiration date is January.
Okay.
But it's not only about the risk of losing vaccines to expiration, but it's the opportunity to help the population to protect themselves, to be in a better position to fight off COVID-19 if they were to become in contact with a person that is positive. There is 2 different scenarios. One, you are fighting alone the virus, meaning you have no vaccines. And 2, if you are vaccinated, then you have a greater possibility of not getting infected. And if you get infected, then the majority of the cases would be asymptomatic or mild. So that is the decision that every person should make for themselves. I think at this point, we all know that we should not play with COVID-19.
Yeah.
And we have the resources, and as a country, we are privileged and blessed enough for all the other countries that have been donating vaccines to us. And we might reach to a point where we would have to donate vaccines to other countries, because if we don't utilize this precious resource that is equal to saving lives, no?
Yeah.
So, you said there are about 200,000 vaccinations available for Belizeans, with the expiration date being somewhere around January.
The earliest.
The earliest one. So some are a bit later.
Yes.
Okay. So we still have about 200,000 more people to get fully vaccinated so that we can hit our target. Are there sufficient vaccines to be able to provide booster and hit our target vaccinations, target of vaccinated persons? Are we expecting another shipment?
We do have enough vaccines to run the 2 parallel offers, no?
Okay.
First and second dose, or only first dose with the Johnson, and then the booster dose. Okay. But again, we are starting by phase again with the booster. So as we go getting more vaccines, then we go opening up the rest of the population groups.
Okay.
To get booster dose.
Dr. Baird, there are some of us who may not fit within those categories. but would love to get a booster, is it going to be offered only exclusively to the high-risk populations?
We're working closely with the National Immunization Technical Advisory Group, NITAG, and we work closely with the COVID-19 medical response team. And we also look at the evidence that is available. And based on what happened with the first phase of the COVID-19 vaccination campaign, we will definitely have to give some timeline for the administration of the booster dose and be a bit more effective in moving from one phase to the other. We want to wait like before, where we had months waiting for
phase 2, phase 3.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Because when they did open it up, we saw a large spike in vaccinations because there are many people who do want to be fully protected. What's the size of this first phase, the high-risk population over 60 and frontline workers?
We are roughly talking about 70,000 persons. Wow. So it's open for them right now. No? Just make sure that your second dose, you receive it 5 months or more. Okay. And then you can access the booster dose.
And how many people have access to booster to date?
The number is low, but I guess people need more information about the booster dose for them to access.
I mean, in all fairness, it's only been 3 days, so I won't. I don't know if anyone can criticize as yet, but the key part is that you have about 70,000 people who meet this first phase criteria that can benefit from a booster shot. If you were to say to people this morning who are fully vaccinated and are hesitant about accessing the booster vaccine for whatever reason, what would you say to them? Maybe they're elderly or they're diabetic. What would you say to them?
I would just invite them to access the vaccines at their nearest vaccination site. Yeah. COVID-19, we thought it was one more respiratory infection that we could deal with, but today we know that it is a systemic disease. It affects many organs in the body. It affects the kidney, the bladder, the brain, the eye, the intestines, the prostate, placenta, the testes. So, I mean, and then we know of the long COVID patients, no? Yeah. They recover clinically and months after they're presenting again with symptoms. Yeah. Secondary to COVID-19 vaccine. So COVID-19 is increasing the number of persons with chronic illness now secondary to COVID-19. So why expose yourself when we have a vaccine that can help you fight off the disease? And if you do get it, then reduce the number of severe illness, hospitalization, and death.
And finally, Dr. Abir, folks there might be some hesitancy to want to go in to get a booster, probably because they've lost their vaccination cards. So, people are actually, there's a sense of hesitancy there. And I've heard this countless times. John, can I go in to get you know what, I don't know. So you're the pro. Am I able to go in to get a booster or a second dose of the vaccine if I've lost my vaccination card?
Yes, because we have the vaccinations, the doses of that have been administered in the Belize Health Information System. So in the electronic medical record of each person, we document the vaccine, so that is not a problem. We would just have to do a search so that we can issue a next card, but that is not a problem.
Okay.
It should not deter persons from accessing the booster dose.
All right.
Well, Dr. Baer, I know there are a lot more questions, but we got a couple of the important ones out this morning, and we hope to have further conversations if people need them clarified. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Marlene.
All right.
You stay safe, Doctora.
Same.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. With that, we're about to take our break, and when we come back, of course, we'll be chit-chatting with DFC. Did you know that they've got some products to share with you? DFC, their rollout of products, when we come back.
This COVID update was brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service. Working off-site doesn't mean you have to be off your game. Studies have shown that simply adding a keyboard and mouse to your laptop increases productivity by 26%. Add a monitor, and you'll be 35% more productive. At Fulltech Systems, we have what you need to enhance your remote work or e-learning experience. With devices such as headsets, video conferencing monitors, webcams, keyboards, mice, docking stations, all with the brands you trust. Keep connected with collaboration tools like Microsoft 365 Suite and Kaspersky and perform efficiently no matter where you are. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
Bundle the fastest, most reliable, unlimited broadband in Belize with your prepaid or postpaid mobile plan or Netflix. You can bundle your broadband with your prepaid and enjoy 50% off all national calls, plus get SMS and data. Paid plans? Then bundle with any speed and pay only $25 extra monthly to enjoy unlimited smart-to-smart calls, plus 500 minutes, plus 6,300 megabytes of data. Stream unlimited HD movies and TV shows with our broadband, plus the Netflix add-on for only $30 monthly, and enjoy streaming on your laptop, TV, phone, or tablet. Visit a smart showroom near you to sign up or upgrade to the bundle that's right for you. Smart, bringing people together.
High impact, innovative, inclusive, and accessible. Today's DFC is empowering Belize's economy to be economically, socially, and environmentally resilient. Hear from our customers how DFC is empowering them to do more.
The small business loan that I got from DFC, it really helped a lot in the drum making for the business, because the tools that we got, like the chainsaw, the electrical planer, it is very valuable to prepare the drums the way how we want it, because we want to put out very good products. Whenever the customer purchases the drum, I always tell them, please cherish this drum because it's out of love. Make sure when you play that drum, it's from love.
Before the COVID, Ragamuffin Tours was conducting 5 different tours a day. We were carrying about 60 people out daily, and when the COVID hit, our industry collapsed to 0%. Ragamuffin Tours seek finance from DFC, which have helped to keep 9 of my staff employed, also to recover and repair my boats and equipments. Hopefully, coming this new season, 2022, that we could rebound full working staff and capital.
We've been working with DFC since 2019, and we entered into one of their renewable energy loans to help our diversified business manage its costs. 80% of our loan went to cover solar infrastructure, and then the balance of our loan went to replacing old refrigeration equipment. In terms of power, our PV system produces 105 kilowatt hours. We actually use about 100 to 130 kilowatts per day. So our solar, on a really good day when we're not using a lot of electricity at night, will cover more than half of our power use. Just depends on what our usages are in the season.
I used to rent this property for like about 6 years, and then I found out that the owner was selling it. The loan I got was to purchase this property. I have my business here. I have had it for 6 years. I live here, and then the property has 2 rental units. With DFC, I got this opportunity. It benefits because I'm a mom now, and I have my business here. I have my life here. I can say I've been living here for so long. So I feel like this property, it belongs to me. It belongs to me. I feel home here.
Well, I finally completed my bachelor's degree in psychology with a concentration in family and marriages. I mean, it was one of the hardest decisions to make, to go abroad to study. It was an experience worth having. I had needed to finish classes, and without that loan, I would not have been able to finish the class and graduate when I had needed to. So I was very thankful to DFC for that.
Hace 15 años cuando comencé a trabajar aquí en este rancho, comencé a ver crecer más con ganado y llegué a 2,800 cabezas de ganado y mi pasto, pues tenía yo mucho más pasto. Yo tenía mucho más tierra comprado que ganado. Entonces yo fui a ver el DFC para hacer un préstamo para aumentar el ganado. Y nos ayudaron y aumentamos ahorita 3,800 cabezas de ganado. El gobierno, por el apoyo del gobierno podemos hacer todo eso, lo que hicimos ahorita, la exportación a México, sí apoyaron mucho, en todo nos apoyaron. Y si va a seguir como está siguiendo ahorita, no debe de tardar, vamos a tener la matanza allá para exportar en canal.
We started with the idea for a boot manufacturing operation in 2019. What COVID did was really make us very decisive to move forward with this project, and we did pitch the plan to the Development Finance Corporation. They reviewed it, we went through the processes, the challenges and the pros and cons, and that is what has brought us here today. So within that first component of the business model was to develop the types of footwear we wanted. Our design and our process is really equivalent in a price point and quality than any manufacturer abroad. What we are hoping for is conscientiousness from at the corporate level to be willing to partner with us as a true partner and not just as a customer, so we can develop a product that is fit and perfect for them.
The testimonials you've seen today span a wide cross-section of Belize's economic landscape. It's also reflective of DFC embracing inclusive and innovative financing, with women and at-risk groups being funded alongside larger commercial projects like sugar and citrus production. As a woman leader, I am proud of the women featured. We are equally proud of being a part of the successful recovery of tour guide operations in the wake of the pandemic. And with the influx of new financing from GOB, a new line of credit from the IDB, those who dare to invest in Belize can be assured of DFC's support for loan financing and technical assistance for years to come.
DFC, empowering lives.
And we're back. We're moving now into our second segment for the morning. And this one surrounds DFC. How are things like, especially amidst a pandemic? So that's exactly where we're going. The role of DFC amidst the pandemic and the promotions of their products that they've got. You just saw that lovely ad on the TV a while ago, infomercial actually, on the TV a while ago. And we've got the folks in to tell us all about it. The general manager is in with us. That's none other than Miss Natalie Goff. It's nice to see you. And of course, the chairman of DFC is in with us, Henry A. Anderson. Guys, good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome. It's nice to have you in.
It's a pleasure to be here.
When we hear DFC, Development Finance Corporation, folks might look at it from a different standpoint of exactly what it is supposed to be. We might not even know or understand what DFC is or how we could utilize the products. Let's start there, Ms. Goff. What is DFC? What does it stand for, and what do you do?
Okay, Development Finance Corporation, or DFC, is this country, Belize's only development bank. And what's a development bank?
Yeah.
It's different from a commercial bank, from a credit union. It's one of the key players in the financial services sector. The primary role of a development bank is to take higher risks, to fill market gaps that may be there. One of the things it does, and what gets it into trouble, is that we do what we refer to as counter-cyclical financing. So when people are pulling back in giving financing in a pandemic, in a crisis, that's when the development bank is supposed to go in and try to see how it could, in this case, restore jobs, restore foreign exchange. It takes greater risk. But to be able to do that in a sustainable manner, you need the support. Most development banks are state-owned. You do have a few private ones, but they have to be well capitalized. Because you take risks, some projects will go wrong. And we have had that challenge over the past few years in terms of the investments that we have made. Fortunately, for us over the past year, one of the things DFC has is a large influx of equity investment. Earlier in February, I think, or February, March of this year, the government invested over $32 million in the corporation. And it was an innovative, it was a debt swap, but it created the capital space for us to be able to assume greater risk, to take on additional debt and things like that. So we're a bit different in terms of how you get a loan. We don't take deposits. So for example, we are not aware of, if John comes to us today and says that he would like to set up a juice, for example, he like to manufacture juice. We don't have an account there for John. First of all, you're a startup. So that's a great risk. And you know what they say about startups. 50% of them fail. But yet you want us to invest with you, right? If you're not a startup, more than likely you don't have all the capital, you may not have the collateral requirements. But you have an idea, and you have a proposal that says that you can create 25 jobs, 15 of them women and things like that. That's what a country needs. And so DFC is trying to fill that role at this time, especially where we are in a pandemic. I don't know if you want to.
I think you touched it well.
I'd like to talk more about the high risk aspect, because I can imagine being in the position and needing to vet projects or proposals from persons who may have a great idea. How do you balance moving forward with the development agenda and allowing for investment in what some may consider high risk without being reckless?
Okay. One of the things that DFC has instituted within the last, I think fully within the last 5 years, but more fully within the last 2 or 3 years, is our risk department.
Okay.
And that's at most financial institutions now. That's required coming out of the 2008 crisis. So we take risks, but we are not reckless in taking risks. We assess the risk. Like one of the greatest areas that we are looking at right now is climate risk and the impact it is having on this community. You would have heard the Prime Minister, I think, mention in his speech yesterday that we could be going well, and we have one adverse climate event, and it takes away all the progress that we have made. But apart from that, on an annual basis in the agricultural sector, which we have our largest investment, by the way, you care of droughts. Then if the following year you have a flood, or you have drought and flood in 1 year, the crop is lost. So the $50,000 that the farmer borrowed to put inputs and into that crop is lost. They owe us $50,000. They have no income. What do we do? So what we are doing in terms of being, more, taking more initiative in terms of how do we mitigate those risks? What factors do we put in place? We look at irrigation, for example, irrigation loans in the agricultural sector. So we do not, and that takes time, Marlene.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of persons complain, well, you take so long to do a loan. We may have a collateral, but the intent is not to sell your collateral. The intent is to build a business, create employment, create foreign exchange.
Yeah.
So we don't look at your collateral. A lot of time the collateral is not even, may not even be adequate.
Yeah.
But you see what the possibilities are and you invest.
Now, it's interesting when you think of I think you called it counter cycle.
Counter-cyclical. Yeah.
Counter-cyclical, how in a pandemic, the expectation is that development banks like yourself would come forward and fill a very important gap. But what was it like for your existing clients who perhaps saw a total decline in revenue and couldn't keep up with payments? How do you work with those who were put in that tough financial spot when we felt the economic effects of the pandemic?
Okay. One of the first things we did last year, when I think it was in March, we went to a board, and when we heard what was happening, and at that time we thought by September, October we would have been out of this pandemic. So one of the first things we did was to offer a moratorium on payments, principal and interest, to all our clients who we thought would have been affected by the pandemic.
Yeah.
It was offered to all, but you had to come in and apply for it. So if you could continue your payment, we encouraged you to. Because we cannot forgive the interest, we didn't do any forgiveness or that. We just offered a moratorium. So that meant your interest continued to accrue.
Yeah.
In some sectors, it was only a 3-month moratorium up to June. But in the tourism sector, we offered up to October last year, because we figure if it's at June, if you know things get better by June, you go into slow season.
Yeah.
So it won't pick up until the high season. So we offered, and that was automatic. As I said, you had to come in and apply for it. But once you were in that sector, even student loans, people were affected. But we encourage persons and companies to come in and pay at least their interest, so whatever they could, so that the interest could not build up. I would say about 30% of those primarily in tourism sector remain in moratorium up to today. But I really have to applaud our clients. They have done, sometimes it's $50, $100 a month they come in so that they are able to service our loan. In fact, we had adjusted our collections downward in the pandemic, and we actually exceeded the revised projection. So that says, that bodes well for our clients. They're trying for the most part. We do have problems, but I would say most of our clients, you do have clients who, are irresponsible and do not pay.
Yeah.
I always tell my staff, I said, if we say we have a non-performing portfolio of 15%, yes, and a lot of them have problems, but it means 85% of our clients pay. So you have to look at it from the positive standpoint.
So we're mentioning here the pandemic, and we've seen a lot of people actually losing jobs at the onset, and you're right, especially in the tourism industry. But one of the things that we've seen, especially here on Open Your Eyes, we've featured a lot of new entrepreneurs, which we know are small businesses. But let's face the fact here, MSMEs are those who are actually providing the most jobs throughout our country. What can I do as somebody who is trying to get a startup? I want to get some financing. How do I approach DFC? What must I have?
Well, what we promote is collaboration. For example, we have in that sector, especially in the micro and small, we have an MOU with Beltrade. We have ideas, but you have to know how to run a business. And if you're going to get a loan, I would suggest that you learn how to run a business. So we start with that collaboration. But you come in, you have your business plan, and it doesn't have to be anything elaborate or sophisticated. What's your market? We were talking about there are new businesses coming up, like the Uber, the Belize Uber, and things like that. I'm just, the chair and I were talking about it a while ago, and at DFC, we should be able to, and that's why these shows that you all showcase these businesses should be important. I sit down and watch them now because I would call and say, maybe we should check out that person, right? Because we go there. But they would bring in their plan, they show their market, they show their cost of operation. And once we feel that it's viable, and we also provide technical advice, we would say, you know what, well, maybe start smaller and build up and see how this goes along instead of going into a significant debt. So we do those, we do medium-sized lending, and we do lending to large, like the one you saw on the video with the cattle operation.
And let's get Chairman in and talk about this from an operational standpoint, because transparency is important in an institution like DFC, and it all comes with how the institution itself is managed. So let's talk about improvements made there.
Well, if you look at the history of the DFC, right? DFC had some issues, and then back in 2009, a new version of the DFC was launched. And if you would take the life to look at the governance structure in the Act, right? DFC has, I would say, world-class benchmark governance structure and policies. And we continue to work to improve those. So the new board has been in place since February, and we finalized the risk framework that the general manager was talking about, the policy for that. We also put in place the internal audit charter and all the framework for that. So you have a robust controlling mechanism internally. One of the big things that at the DFC we have to look at, and sometimes we get into issues with the customer experience, is the whole bit of know your customers. So we have to do the same sort of due diligence and screening as a commercial bank. So we have all the policies in place, and that's an area where we have to ensure that we hold the line. So we do those things. At the same time, though, we try to be creative. So if we go back to the conversation on COVID, right? The organization since COVID has given forbearance on about $40 million worth of loans. So that's significant. And for businesses who were affected by COVID, right? Our thing is we would not go to foreclose. So we look to find outside the box thinking. If we can restructure, right? We will look and sit down and find some ways to restructure the loan. We will have the patience, because as the GM said, our role is to ensure that we grow the economy of Belize. We especially looking at areas where you're either saving foreign exchange and growing foreign exchange. So those are some of the things that we have to continue to do, but we have a very rigorous DFC Act with all of the policies and procedures that we adhere to.
I'd imagine that when it comes to foreclosing, my question is, do you find yourself to be proactive or reactive? Because money talk in Belize is still very much taboo. Some people are comfortable coming in and saying, I can't pay. And there are others who kind of sit back and, pray that a miracle comes their way.
Yeah.
We do have some of those.
I know.
Some of them need a miracle.
Yeah.
And again, it's nothing specifically to do, but it's just the devastation that may have been caused by some event or something like that.
Yeah.
Are we proactive or reactive? We are in the middle, I would say, because no organization, I think, has the level of resources that is required to be fully proactive, as we would like to be. Our chief risk officer always says, because we do medium to long-term lending. So an average loan at DFC may be in excess of 10 years, right? You need staff to be able, and in the productive sector, 60% of our loans is in the productive sector, agriculture, tourism, small business, whatever. You need staff, and as the chairman says, the know-how to be able to monitor that business, to look into the future and see what are the cycles. the issue with climate change. I spoke with a farmer on Monday. I went out to his establishment, and he was telling me climate change has changed everything. They don't know exactly when to plant anymore.
Yeah.
And how we at the DFC, we have a climate champion. We saw it was so important that we have in-house what we refer to as climate champion. And so we are getting all the information in terms of how do you manage credit with the type of crisis that loom before us. Another thing that we are doing, we are getting accreditation directly to the Green Climate Fund. That process, it's a long process, started a couple years ago, and hopefully it's concluded by 2022, the latest. But not only will we have access to financing, but we will have access to technical assistance to try to guide our farmers and in other industries, the tourism, the investors in the tourism industry. And so it's a win-win situation. No one, as I say, our last, especially me, and sometimes with my staff, I have to be back and forth. Our last thing is to take away somebody's collateral that they have put forward. That's not the aim of the DFC. If you come to us with a piece of land that's valued at $100,000, and you have the courage to make an investment, and something goes wrong, and you lose that land, you are worse off than when you started.
You're right.
We have to try to avoid that as much as possible. And as we say, we recognize that there will be losses, and things happen, but we try to minimize that.
It's wonderful to hear that, and I think I guess it goes with the caveat that it's once they show that there's an effort to be able to return and make
the
good on
business
payments.
situation, right? We have to look at the risk and the business situation.
And I cannot underscore the importance of supporting the structure.
Excellent.
We are a state-owned organization, and if we are going to do these things, we need the support of the government. And we need it in tangible ways, and that's why the equity that was provided to us recently was important.
Exactly.
And that's what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about how do you get, when you're in such a high-risk environment, there is equity coming in from government, but I know you also work with international development agencies as well. What's that balance like, and how much of it is a challenge to access capital?
Well, if I could touch on one part, we got about 32 million invested by government, and that injection, what it did, you have certain financial ratios that the IFIs look at to lend the DFC monies. So by making that capital injection, it immediately restored the balance in the DFC's ratios to allow the DFC to, for example, go to the IDB and get a $30 million facility. And I believe Taiwan might be providing another 10 million Belize dollars on that. And we are in discussions with CDB and SSB for another 22 million. So that injection allowed for doing that. I don't know, Jim, if you want to talk a little bit more about that. And then we are having new risk products, right, or ways to mitigate risk. So, for example, part of the strategic trust for DFC is to look at the whole climate change and getting to carbon neutral, right, or getting to zero. So we're encouraging businesses to use solar and renewable energy and looking at energy efficiency. So we've just negotiated a thing called the CRAF, the Credit Risk Abatement Facility, that allows us to have like an insurance on those loans, so we could offer it at lower interest rates. And at the same time, we could use the same equipment that you buy as the collateral. So those are some of the things we're doing. But maybe you could talk about those ones that we have coming in. And
as the chairman said, the equity space that has been provided, one of the benefits is that we are able to access additional financing. One of the important aspects there is we were able to access lower cost financing. And so this IDB money is, I don't want to get into rates and things like that. You all heard it at the House meeting. But what we are trying to do at the DFC is to bring down the cost of financing, because that has been the cry from most of the target market that we had. The cost is too high. Understand though that, and I need to say this here, when you're working with a development bank, you won't necessarily get the lowest rate, but you may get affordable terms and conditions.
Okay.
Like, for example, a student who comes to DFC for a loan doesn't have to pay principal during the course of study. And is allowed 6 months to and only have to pay interest. So you get things like that, but there are risks associated with those.
Which, and I really don't, because I know time is flying by, but I really don't want to lose the opportunity to talk about the promotion and the services or the products that you guys have got to offer. Because like you mentioned, Development Finance Corporation is about developing your nation. So let's talk about that.
Okay, the chairman referred to the monies that we are getting. We had this We Serve home loan, and that has taken off. That's primarily for public servants, teachers, military personnel, and staff of statutory bodies. And what it allowed them is improve cash flow. So we kind of bundled the debt and consolidated debt, and that program has really taken off. And housing loan may not be seen as productive sector, but it does balance the risk in your portfolio. So we've done well there. But now we are going out with our business loans to the small, to MSME sectors, using the IDB financing. We have what we refer to as DFC focuses on inclusive financing too. So we're focusing on women.
Yes.
And our Empowered Business Loan, you'll see a couple of the recipients there benefit from the Empowered Business Loan. Allows them, and you up to $40,000 you can get without any real estate collateral.
Wow.
But you need to, there are other conditions that are needed. It needs assessment, right? So those are some of the products that we are looking at. We are participating in the central bank's special
purpose vehicle.
Maybe you could speak a little bit more about that, Chair.
Yeah, we have the special purpose vehicle that government has put through the central bank, and it has two components. It has a component for the MSMEs that the National Bank and the DFC are participating in. That's a facility of $1.5 million for small loans, up to like $15,000 for some of the businesses that has come about in terms of the pandemic time. And then there's a larger portion, about $50 million, that's there for the bigger projects and to assist businesses to restore them, businesses that were impacted by COVID. That's coming in at a lower interest rate, so that should allow the DFC and all the other institutions to be able to bring the rates down. One of the things from the board level that we're doing to look at the interest rates is to look at the whole the business model of the DFC, right? And with the management team, we're looking at restructuring certain things and bringing down our cost structure. So we had a operating efficiency of about 80%, right? And we want to get that down to within the 50% range. That will create some space to allow the DFC to be sustainable. Because remember, as a state-owned enterprise, right? When you talk about, for example, blue bonds and the national debt, we are featured right in there, right? We are what you call an explicit contingent liability. So we have to ensure, at the DFC, the board has to ensure that we operate the DFC. Yes, we will take risk and everything else, but we can't be losing money, right? If we break even or we grow the portfolio, that's what we need to do. So that work is on the way right now to be able to do that. And what we're aiming to do is to set the culture of the organization to be more performance-based, to create more opportunities for all of the professionals that we have there. So if you look at your business model and you ensure it's sustainable, then people jobs are secured and everything else, and then we can focus on doing the business of development. So those are some of the things that we're working on.
And I would like to add, we have to think going forward, we all have to contribute to building climate resiliency. I think that's going to be one of the big thrust of the DFC going forward. Our leaders are out there trying to get funding. When the funding comes home, we have to utilize it. What's the use of having it if we're not going to utilize the funding? So for example, maybe in the next 2 or 3 years, we'll see Channel 5 with solar, and these are, we have to be a part of the solution. We have to be a part of the solution here, and DFC will, you know, get the resources, get the technical assistance for us to transform this economy into a climate resilient one.
I think you could mention, Jim, that a lot of all of the credit staff has already been trained.
Yes.
Yeah.
In every product they evaluate, or potential loan, sorry, it's evaluated looking at all of the climate.
Every loan.
Everything. So that all of that training has been happening over the past 2-3 years.
Led by our climate champion,
right,
Mr.
So eventually
Franklin
that'll be part of your criteria.
Well, we are
It's there now.
mainstreaming climate.
Yeah.
It means
Right.
that it in every aspect. So even in our student loans, we will probably incentivize students to be in the STEM subjects that is related to climate, more engineers and people like that who will be able. We don't have to go abroad to get the technical assistance. The technical assistance could be resident here. So it's in your housing loan, building more resilient houses. You remember, they probably had it right when we built our house on stilts.
Yes.
We probably have to go back to doing that.
That's now considered
That's
climate
part
smart.
of the change that we have to do. So your garage is at the bottom, but your house, and so when a flood comes, you don't have to be mopping up.
Yeah.
That's climate resilient.
Just quickly before we close, because the time has just, you know, raced by. I know that you were offering, or maybe you still are, the renewable energy loans that included the energy audit. We're talking about that way before we started talking about where we are now with the blue bonds. Do you feel that this has been accessed enough, or are there other products perhaps that people have been overlooking, not realizing that they can take advantage?
Yeah.
It has not been accessed enough, and I think it's a lack of awareness and understanding. And that's why, as the chair referred to, we are building capacity in-house in order to better sell this product. Because I think the product needs to be sold. We need to convince everyone that, you know what, you need to take this up. The investment, the upfront investment is a bit higher. But we have to look at it like insurance. I always say we should be insurance salespersons at our organization when it comes to renewable energy and building climate resiliency.
I think that it will grow because we now have the craft, right? And that credit risk abatement facility will allow us to, as I said, price the loans cheaper, so they will be cheaper. There are also some regulations that who holds back some of the investment in this area. So that's a macro issue that government has to address with regards to, you know, all the regulations over electricity and things like that.
Especially solar,
Right. So that is part of what kind of holds back some of, you know, launching that off. But if you look at the government's Plan Belize, it's right in there that will be addressed at some point. So, you know, we're doing our part to get ready. The funding that we got through the IDB, I think 30% of that has to have a climate component with it.
Wow.
So the DFC is not only talking the talk, but we're walking the walk.
Walking the walk. And finally, if we need some more information on that, where do I go? Online is actually the new thing.
You can go online. We have offices in every town except Punta Gorda at this time. So you can, but we prefer, you know, as we transition to a more efficient, you can make a call, but you can go online.
Right, and when you go on the website, the little chat box opens up, and you can do that.
Communicate through there.
And as we go along, we want to improve these. The chair spoke about our transition towards digitalization to a totally digitalized organization that will aid us in giving a more affordable and enhanced service.
All right. Well, now we know exactly what to do, and of course, you know exactly what to do. Business is not far-fetched. Check out the DFC. You'll get exactly what you need. All right, thank you guys so very much. Natalie Goff, General Manager, DFC, thank you. And of course, Mr. Chairman, Henry Anderson, thank you as well for visiting this morning. We're about to take a break. When we come back, we'll be chit-chatting with reps from the Belize International Film Festival. We'll be getting some details on the 15th edition. Wow. That's when we come back.
Hello, friends. This is Dr. Bob Roberts with another 60-second sermon from God's Word. The Bible says, I have seen something else under the sun. The race is not to the swift, or the battle to the strong, nor does food come to the wise, or wealth to the brilliant, or favor to the learned. But time and chance happens to them all. Here it appears that victory is determined by chance, by accident, or by good luck. But that's not what the case is. What it does suggest is that our victories in life are not necessarily dependent upon our human abilities and strength, but the sovereign providential acts of Almighty God, whereby He provides us with opportunities that seem to come at the right time and the right place. It simply becomes our responsibility to seize those moments and opportunities. This is why the Bible says, so be careful how you live. Don't live like fools, but like those who are wise. Make the most of every opportunity. In these evil days, we are constantly reminded that our times are in God's hands, that the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and He delighteth in His way. That to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. God wants you to know that He has a plan and a purpose for your life. You are to pursue it and plan for it, but know that ultimate victory and success is not dependent upon your efforts, but by recognizing God's divine will for your life and walking in it. Then you will often find yourself at the right place and at the right time. Today's 60-second sermon has been presented by Christian Foundations of Faith in cooperation with the Baptist churches in your area.
It's a fact that your credit lasts longer when using Smart. During these times, we're all trying to find ways to cut costs and save the little resources we have. With Smart, it's easy to do that. It's a fact that with Smart, your credit lasts longer. You can call Smart to Smart and Smart to Digi using your promo credit, while with the other guy, you can only call OnNet, Digi, or BTL numbers. What does this mean? You get to call any national number using your promo credit. Your promo credit is free, so that call is also free. Know your facts. Don't be tricked by the other guy. Be smart and save your dollars.
The TV you love is always with you. From live TV, sports, and on-demand titles. Choose your plan today. Plans start as low as $15 per month. My TV. Entertainment, anytime, anywhere.
I was officially tasked by my work to attend the first barbershop training, and I found out that it's a really refreshing thought. It helps a lot. It gives you a fresh look at life. It gives people a chance to develop. It gives people a chance to grow. It gives people a chance to be themselves, and it helps them to grow as a person. For me, what I took the most from this session was the fact that sometimes we try to give rules and regulation to our kids growing up, like boys shouldn't cry. Certain things are just for girls, certain jobs are just for boys, and we kind of hold back young persons from reaching to their full potential.
It's key for me to understand that gender-based biases are real. It's something that I will take and convert into my knowledge and make sure that I push out when it comes to offering these services here at the Department of Youth Services.
I'll be committing to working with my kids, working with my friends, working with the young persons that I come in contact with to put an end to domestic violence, gender-based violence, and violence against young people on a whole.
Imagine going through your entire day without the burden and risk of carrying cash on you. Belize's shift to digital wallets has begun. With eCash, we can now skip the cash when collecting money or paying for our essentials, all while using a fast, easy, and secure platform. Simply add funds to your wallet via bank transfer or at an agent, and you're good to go. You will be able to make quick, easy payments simply by scanning QR codes. And best of all, it all happens just like that. Payments are as easy as clicking a link online or scanning a QR code. Download the eCash app from the Google Play and Apple App Store today and take your first step into a cashless lifestyle. The future is here with eCash. For more information, visit www.e-cash.com or contact us via WhatsApp at 613-0257 to find out more.
Hello, welcome to Samsung's awesome experience right here in Belize. Come check it out. Not sure which Samsung Galaxy A series is right for you? Touch, play, and learn about your device before you buy. Once you've purchased your device, you can now benefit from the full Samsung service experience.
Your phone is covered by a 1-year local warranty. This includes manufacturer defects and software and hardware issues caused by the manufacturer.
Enjoy your phone with peace of mind knowing that your Galaxy is protected. And when your warranty expires, you can still bring it to our certified Samsung Repair Center. Our technicians will diagnose and repair your device with Samsung original parts and machinery.
Enjoy the Samsung experience when you shop at any of our authorized partners countrywide, including Cellular World, Digi, Odette's Home Center, Debari, Shopigas, and Quartz. Join the Samsung experience in Belize today.
Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. We're moving now into our third segment for the morning. This one is all about the details of the 15th edition of the virtual Belize International Film Festival. Now in to talk to us about it, we've got Tyler Robinson, who is the co-director of Our Own House. Vanessa Bergonzoli is actually there with him. She is the co-director as well of Our Own House. And Will Mejia, main protagonist of Our Own House. Wow, Will and the crew. Guys, good morning.
Good morning, John and Marlene.
Okay. So we want to start off by just saying thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And I'm sure you must be very excited with the upcoming start of the International Film Festival, where Our Own House will be screened. Tell us, why did you choose to participate in this film festival?
We have been working and committed to making this film in Punta Gorda in the district of Toledo for about 6 years now, with an amazing group of individuals who had a rising concern for the amount of plastic waste in their community. And that's how we started working with Mr. Will Mejia, who is joining us today. And we are delighted to be able to share this film with everybody in Belize through the International Film Festival. And we want to thank Suzette Saden and all the team at the Belize International Film Festival, because let me tell you, Marlene, it hasn't been easy for them to keep the festival alive through a pandemic.
Yeah.
Will, tell us.
I want to find out from Will.
Yeah.
When did you add acting to your resume now? I mean, it's pretty extensive at this point.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, I just focused on being Will every day.
Yeah.
You know?
What was your experience like?
Well, I never knew that being in a movie took so much takes.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Take that. First time Vanessa said take 2, I was thinking she was telling me 2 beers. But it was takes. And yeah, it was a good experience. It was a fun experience. And, you know, without Tyler and Vanessa and the whole crew that came from New York, all their professionalism has not only helped me, but also like other people in PGTV, like, I mean, not only PGTV, in PG. Like Tyler, he knows a lot about, you know, making movies along with Vanessa, and they continue to work with, we work with youths here, and a lot of them got tips from these guys, you know.
Yeah. But Will, what about, because we know your passion when it comes to your country, we know your passion when it comes to your, especially your municipality, Toledo. Tell us about that. How did you feel, with Toledo being highlighted especially?
Yeah, well, me and Tyler, we were sitting down one day and we were talking about how can we have an impact. We know that there's usually a World Oceans Day and everybody rushes to the beach to clean up. There's a World Earth Day and everybody rushes to plant a tree. And we were saying, but after that day is gone, then until next year again. We wanted to be involved with something that would change people not only for a day, but for their entire lifetime, and change their way of behaving and living in harmony with nature. We wanted people to not only think about cleaning up the beach on World Ocean Day. We want that to be a part of the neighborhood. So we started, instead of starting with the whole country or the whole town, we started with one street. And there was 8 houses on that street. And that's kind of where we started.
Okay, so as I see the imagery here, Vanessa and Tyler, tell us a bit about, the original concept and how satisfied you are with the final product.
Yeah, so the original concept was basically what Will said. We wanted to focus a lot on this one street and see how the progress went with that. And basically, we decided to make it less focused on the details of the street and more of a general overview of the whole situation in Toledo with plastics and how everything came from.
And it's important to note also, Marlene, that plastic waste is a worldwide problem.
Yeah.
So even though PG is cradled within one of the most pristine environments in the world, it now has a problem with single-use plastics. And how did that come about? And like Tyler and Will are saying, our film is called Our Own House, which is actually based on the philosophy of Belize's founding father, George Cattle Price, who said, the best way to deal with the world's problems is to focus on our own house. So we started with one house, one street, to deal with and talk about this very important issue worldwide right now, which is how single-use plastic is really threatening our future on this planet.
Now, that's an interesting idea that you're talking about there, because we don't always like holding up the mirror to watch ourselves. And when we talk about plastic pollution, people can tell you extensively about the massive garbage that's in the ocean floating around. They'll be able to tell you they found a couple wrappers from a neighboring country. Is this part of the point here to kind of remind us that we also have a responsibility in addressing this problem?
Absolutely, absolutely. And there are a lot of myths about plastic that are floating out there. And part of what we wanted to do was break some of these down. For example, a plastic bag will take 20 years to decompose.
Yeah.
A bottle of water, which a lot of us just, find ourselves with from time to time, takes 450 years. Even toothbrushes that we all use takes 500 years to decompose. And no amount of recycling will actually deal with that problem, because worldwide, only 91% of plastics get recycled. So that's another myth, that, if we only get our community to recycle, then we'll be okay. The problem is actually much, much larger than that. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel, Marlene, because when a community like the community in Punta Gorda starts to take action, starts to take notice, then we're talking about plastics which have only been in the world for the last 60 years. That's the light of the end of the tunnel, really. Even though the amount of plastic that we consume today will still be around 500 years from now, 17 generations from now, that's our legacy. The fact that this is only a 60-year-old industry means that there is a way to reverse course.
Are all these images that we're seeing so far from Belize, like that
garbage on
that
the water,
mass
yeah.
of sargassum and plastic floating in the sea?
Unfortunately, yes, and like you mentioned, it's not only Belize's problem. It's not only Belize's trash. The waterways bring, the pandemic has showed us that we're all connected.
Yeah.
And plastic, unfortunately, also shows us that we are connected too. And the reason we wanted to work with Will Mejia and Deborah Borland, who is a school principal in PG, and Abib Palma, who is an entrepreneur and really a farmer that knows how to grow food anywhere, is because of their passion for their hometown of PG.
Yeah.
And we highlighted in the film, I invite everyone to watch the film. We highlighted the beauty first, because that is what everyone we worked with in PG is so passionate about. The beauty and the resources of the Toledo district, and specifically of Punta Gorda, and why it is worth talking about the problem of plastics is to defend that beauty and to preserve it for the 17 generations that are to come as well. So we can give them a legacy that includes a little bit more than just plastic waste.
What would you guys say, Tyler and Vanessa, for working or doing this film in, especially in the Toledo district? What were your biggest learnings from it?
You want to go?
I mean, probably one of the biggest things we learned is what an uphill battle this really is. And, when the habit has been put in place of, people often litter and there's no place to put their trash or anywhere, it's hard to break that pattern, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And unfortunately, people are busy, they have jobs, they have other things in their lives, and it makes it really complicated.
Yes, and at first, John, it seems like an insurmountable problem because, the government in PG has been really doing their work on expanding the garbage dump and trying to start a recycling facility. But it is a very large problem, and we've got to start the conversation. And like one of your presenters said in the last segment this morning, we have to be a part of the solution.
Yeah, you're totally right. So when are we expect to see the rollout of this film?
Opening night.
Yes, we are.
I beat you to it.
An opening night film. Exactly. And we hope to get it into as many homes in Belize as possible. We hope to also plan a rollout in PG because we could have never made this film without the community in PG, and we're really stewards of the voice of the community in PG, thanks to Will Mejia and everybody who contributed to the film. So we, like I said, it's been very challenging to present a film throughout a pandemic, but we are not giving up. The problem is not going away. PG is not going away. And we are going to stick to our guns and try to bring this film to as many people as possible in Belize and around the world.
Just my final point is, what would you say to the people of PG? Now, plastic pollution is a problem globally. As I said before, we don't always like looking ourselves in the mirror, and some may say you're kind of painting a negative image of this particular town. What would you say to the people of PG as to how to, what type of open mind they should have in watching the film?
I think this is a great question for Will Mejia to answer, actually, because we took his lead in so many things, and he's so passionate about PG and the District of Toledo that I would love, we will do everything we can on our end to help magnify the message, which is why we made the film.
Yeah.
But I would love Will to have the final word on this answer because he's been thinking about this for a long time.
Yeah. Will?
I believe that we as citizens of Punta Gorda and citizens of Belize, that we have a responsibility as citizens of this planet. And, before I forget, I don't want to miss this opportunity to big up the Prime Minister of Belize, who got world leaders' attention yesterday. Mm-hmm. But I think at the end of the day, it all ties in that we have to face the problem. We cannot just, push it aside and pretend that, yes, we live in this beautiful place. I mean, 10 years ago, John could tell you, being from Punta Gorda himself, you could go up the Joe Taylor Creek or any drain in this country and you would never find any plastic. And now, like, you know, my man Chukuro there, he's diving and he does not only come up with conch, he come up with plastic. So I think it's a way to really, we have to face the reality. You know, the thing is, like you say, it doesn't exist, but I think by showing it, people will become more conscious of, dang, it's not really Belize, that's where we are, you know?
Yeah.
All right.
You're totally right. But guys, you know, the highlight is extreme, and we're looking forward to the rollout of this film because we indeed need to protect our own house. So I'd like to say thank you. Tyler, thank you so very much. Vanessa, thank you. And Will, thank you so very much for joining us this morning. We're looking forward to the rollout of this film, Our Own House.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All right, so we're about to take our final break of the morning. And when we come back, we'll be wrapping things up. Stay with us. We'll be back.
Vaccines protect you and they protect me. Getting vaccinated is one of the most important things you can do to keep yourself and your family safe and healthy. Once enough people are immunized, opportunities for an outbreak of disease becomes very low. And if we all choose to get vaccinated, we contribute in getting back to spending quality time with our loved ones in a safe way.
Hey son, how was your first day at Sixth Form?
Really cool. It was great to see my friends, and I really love my teachers.
I'm so happy to hear that. I'm sorry I wasn't there for your first day, but I'll be back from Corozal next week.
It's okay, Dad. I can't wait to see you. Oh, and please remember, I still have some books I need to purchase.
Ah, yes. Let me e-cash you that right now. Money has been sent. I add a little extra cash just for you.
Whoa, Dad. Thanks. Got it.
You're welcome, sir.
Download the eCash app today and take your first step into a cashless lifestyle. For more information, visit www.e-cash.com or contact us via WhatsApp at 613-0257. eCash, the future is here.
When something is good and you can save, that makes it even better. Like this guy, he buys Flex bundles using his promo credit. No worries when his primary credit is finished. He gets talk, text, and data for free. Or her, she calls her family internationally with her promo credit. And with data packages so affordable, she even does video calls. Smart continues to offer great deals and affordable promotions. As a small business owner, she saves when she uses her promo credit to call the other guys. All Smart customers enjoy more triple days and knowing they can use their promo credit, which just lasts longer. Smart, bringing people together.
We're back.
And just like that, we are completely out of time. We would like to say thank you to everybody who joined us this morning. Marlene, it was a great conversation with Dwayne, like he mentioned. Other things to be happening there in Scotland in those meetings. And we should be looking forward to what the later on newscast will be showcasing from Scotland. Also, Dr. Bear, we're so thankful to have had her in this morning. We know now, especially when it comes to your COVID-19 vaccine, when to get your booster, who are eligible to get boosters, and what percentage we are in our country with respect to being vaccinated.
Yeah, we want to say thank you to all our guests, the representatives of DFC, and of course the creators behind Our Own House, which is the opening film at Belize Film Festival. But we are out of time, so remember, if you'd like to contact us, send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com.
You can check us out on Facebook at OYE Belize. Is that it? Open Your Eyes BZ. And of course on Instagram at OYE Belize. And Belize, look, you can join us again tomorrow when you open your eyes
To start your morning right. Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your hearts open. Enjoy your day. Please remember, wash your hand, wear your face mask, and of course, make sure that you're socially distanced. Enjoy your day.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.